So hello everyone. So as you all know, my name is Nader. I'm from Egypt, and I'm gonna share with you some personal problems that I'm suffering from in the last 3 or 4 years. I have been suffering from anxiety, panic attacks, and suicidal thoughts because of what happened between 2011 and 2014 in my country. 2 of my friends got killed because they stood in front of a dictator saying no to him. I have been waking up every single morning thinking how to deal with that, how to deal with the fact that when I stand for my right, I get shot. But what made me stand against that, what made me feel hope, is my work and my education that I can dedicate to solve such a problem, to make something out of myself, and to address what's been really hard for many other people. But we keep talking about refugees. And refugees have been through 10 or 100 times or what I have been through. I have been a privileged person even when I'm suffering like that. But people are starting with the bare minimum. They have nothing to start from. But education and work is something that can give them hope, gives them resilience. Every time I write a statement of purpose for a university or I write a cover letter, I keep thinking of a future that I can wake up for. And this is how I built my own resilience, and they need to build their own resilience as well. When we have over 65 forcibly displaced people, 65 million, about the size of this room, every minute is getting displaced. And 10%, around 10% of them doesn't have higher education. How to solve this problem, this is my project. So, when I came here to UC Berkeley, I have been in huge tension of thinking about this project. I have been presenting this project for you like several times with different ideas. So you have been through like the whole pipeline of how this happened. But then I start thinking, why I'm not tapping on the resources of this specific university? Why not every individual and every institution start to think how to deploy the capacities they already have to solve a complicated problem? So I decided to pick a university as a high leverage institution and think about how this institution can solve a big problem like higher education for refugees. So I'm going to give you an example from my methodology. This is a map for solar energy in the Middle East. And consider solar energy as a solution. Then we have a problem. Let's assume this problem is groundwater. We put it there. The intersectionality between the problem and the solution is what we call it capacity potential, which is how we can use this intersectionality, how we can address a problem. As you all know that I tend to complicate things, I have different maps called complexity maps. So this is the complexity map of higher education for refugees. This is every single element, about like 130 elements, and a lot to come, about 130 elements that define how higher education for refugees work. But then when I take some parts of it, I can put the capacity of the university, then the problem, and I can find point of intersection of how the university can intervene. And by drawing the whole complexity thing, I can design a full university agenda of direct and indirect role that each university can play to address all aspects of the problem, from the conflict level to locally in the US. What I'm trying to get to is each university needs to be proactive, need to address this idea. We no longer can afford humanitarian response to be reactive, to be waiting for the problem to happen. And we cannot be able to afford simplifying what is complex. We need to embrace this complexity. We need to deal with complex systems as they are by having complex solutions. And we need to address it at scale, because every day pass, people die, people get hurt, and have irreversible outcomes. And finally, there is a problem with collective action, and this is why we need to capitalize on the institutions that we already have, to use them as a gateway for like a joint effort against this giant monster of higher education for refugees. So what I'm working on, if I manage to design this rule, the direct and indirect rule, of a higher education institution in providing for refugees. What I'm aiming for the next month is trying to convince the UC system to have a refugee initiative office when you take the lead and proactively do something about it as a higher education institution. And this comes from this imagination that we have about like 400,000 refugees in university age from Syria only. If we got 100 universities, set 4,000 students as a target for them in the next 5 years, and use this model to achieve that, we can end this problem for Syrian refugees. I'm not now talking about we incrementally need to do this or need to do that. I'm talking about a rapid humanitarian response using a capacity that we already have. Every time you walk in the street and you get $5 or $10 from your pocket and you give it to a homeless person, you invest in his resilience. And this invests in the resilience of the whole community. And what I'm asking UC Berkeley to do is by investing in the resilience of refugees, they invest in the resilience of the whole higher education system, and this ensures the success of all of us. Thank you very much. So easy questions only?
Only complex questions.
Great presentation, thank you so much for that. So, quick question. So, have you, by any chance, I don't know if that's out of scope, but have you measured the benefits that would have on the collective community, and how much that might be?
Yes. So one of the challenges of humanitarian response is that challenges are a lot. There is like children education, there is health, there is water. So usually the international organizations are like short-sighted and focusing on too many things and trying to wear too many hats. Part of my final report is a full chapter that's talking about the multiplier effect of higher education, because it doesn't only invest in the resilience of the individual, but gives role models for the education system of the primary school not to drop out. It invests in the community and post-conflict development. So there is like short and long-term strategic effects of investing in higher education specifically, and this is part of the work that they need to do as well. Okay.
I'm just wondering if in your map, that's very complex map, you take into consideration lack of access to primary education, and like to what extent the solution that you propose addresses the fact that maybe of the 400,000 Syrian refugees that you refer to, maybe only 25% of them have had adequate primary education.
Yep. So because it's a complexity map, it has all these aspects in it. So the lack of primary education and providing pre-university preparation and vocational training as a supplement is both the problem and solutions that's included in the map. And the intersectionality analysis that I do is like drawing a problem-solution continuum, then drawing a capacity building continuum as well, and the intersection between them will be what the university need to do. So in that case, let's assume refugees in a conflict zone that doesn't have primary education. UC Berkeley can provide them online training using a partnership to give them a pre-university preparation. So these are the kind of lists that I provide. Where is this intersectionality? Do you have the capacity for it or not? So this is there.
So I'm curious about the investment. As in, have you considered or evaluated the sort of infrastructure investment required, the costs of it, and then subsequently, if a university has to bear so much cost, what is the incentive for them to do something?
So there is two types of capacities that the university need. Ones that they already have, because universities already internationalized. Universities already have the infrastructure and the capacity to address and recruit and bring international students. And refugees are international students. But then when we talk about the burden, here comes the part of the collective action, because the higher education institution as a whole already try to bring grants, already try to bring loans, already have to provide the overall ecosystem for money to flow. And this money will not flow if the university is clearly saying that they have something that they are working on. Currently what they work on is being reactive. So there is a grant, now we can get like 2 or 3 students. But if you already have a mechanism and you're working on it, you can now ask for money and you can now attract more of the international development fund that's in tension with other priorities.
Have you reached out to UC Berkeley about this already, and what kind of response have you had? Have you reached out to other universities?
I didn't have solid document for them yet, but I'm conducting a couple of interviews about like what is the limitations of the implementation of this first. So when I address them, I do not get like a pushback. So this is like in process kind of. Thank you very much.